Okujato Ablakwa, Honorable Ebesie, intercepted documents. Mensuma intercepted documents. And now my name say. Na me the story Bremo say the Yagbonwura of Gonja land. Naturally say Gonja fo ni na hene. Wabane MPP for a minister and MP for Damango. I friend no Abu Jinapor. And for people who don't know, Abu Jinapor nsono oye Gonja this year atiase na mentiase se ne hene a odi wo mu nyina so abane omanga somo this year owa aban mu ende na memamoti ase say no one is actually talking about the reason. Okay. Na wo bi anim die ntia ohene no abane minister no MPP minister no enti we wanted more explanation melodies ni bi asene me news article say Franklin Kujokra no ebisa say na Abu Jinapor na ede no ye ya uhwe ohene ne nsem o ka otum nso ebufuo nti Abu Jinapor na ede no ye ya ama ohene no ne buefu saa. Now, document amensa kan free the youth of Gonja land. Wo mo trade ye nti a wo hene ne bufu ya wo ban na minister no. Na say eye under dealings bi ohene no o tretre mu a na tre say ye say no. Ati ase o say wo kokko hia e bia ekufu ado a na minister yi akọ say no. Na what you say some under dealings be say under canoe dealings be and more hin in the for our ansem no. Into yen read the statement na the youth of Gonja land ediaba or statement of caution to some politicians in Gonja land who use political power to undermine the authority of Jira, Yagbonwura, B Kunuto, Jiwu, Swale the first, king and overlord of the Gonja kingdom. And bodini ya mesre mofancheme. Also, ladies and gentlemen of the media, the security men and women present here today, the youth of the Gonja kingdom from all over Gonja land gathered here today. Today's gathering is purposely organized to solidarize with the Jakpa palace, particularly the Yagbonwura. Indeed, this is to demonstrate to the world that the youth of Gonja land, and to a large extent, Kegbanye, is solidly behind the Yagbonwura. This gathering is composed of youth across the length and breadth of Gonja land. This is to show that the group is a reflection and a representation of the voice of the youth of Gonja land. Also, ladies and gentlemen, as we are all aware, the history, tradition, and customs of the Gonja kingdom is settled that Yagbonwura is the king and overlord of the kingdom, implying he is the father and the final symbol of authority in this great kingdom. And so, any other chiefs, whether paramount chief or a sub-chief, is subservient to the authority of the kingdom. Into omo tremwa asasini nano Yagbonwura no ono ene diso. Into ohine bia wo ho bia hye. Also, this extends further to any institution, whether traditional or political, and it goes further to circumscribe all politicians who are sons and daughters of the land, to the extent that Bi Kunoto remains the Yagbonwura. He is the father and number one person in Gonja land. Inti ye tremu say, oba Gonja fo asase so dia, oye politician no, oye den yo, osho hene na se. Asemo mo kanono. Or say the Yagbonwura sits on the skins of Indewura Jakpa. He sits as the emblem and symbolism of Indewura Jakpa. He sits as the representative of the ancestors and the gods of the Gonja kingdom. So all other chiefs, royals, warriors, drummers, blacksmiths, imams, linguists across the land are under the authority of the Yagbonwura. Going by this, any person on the soils of the kingdom, be he or she a politician, a businessman, a chief, or an ordinary person, becomes second to Yagbonwura. Nini na omotre se, ohene no nunu dimu, uye chief imamo, uye diendienyu, uye imamo, uye linguistu, uye drama, uye warrior. Once a wo Gonja land hon kwa die. Esan sa asase ne yo ohene ne die no. Oshenase. Also, ladies and gentlemen, the 1992 Constitution of Ghana and the Chieftaincy Act of 2008 are clear as to the boundaries between the chieftaincy institution and political power, to the extent that these laws operate as such and carve out the causes and matters of chieftaincy as sacred and immune to political interference. They are therefore to be respected and applied without compromise. So, politicians are required to stay within the circles of their political powers and allow the chieftaincy institutions to equally stay within its remits, without any usurpation or overlapping in any form of structure. Inti wakoti constitution, what is a constitution krama ahemfo, to me, say politicians no, to me no edru baby, ahemfo su to me den edru baby. Inti ma wobi ankonko ye, na politician ankonko ye ne se wonu ni to me no peso ekata ahemfo ne de ne so. Ohene no nso eni kwan so no so bekwa akoye no no nso ne dia ese kata politician de eso. Also, ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media, all youth gathered here today, it is not a secret that some politicians use the power of government to circumvent the traditional authority and orders of the Yagbonwura in an attempt to evade accountability and to counter the orders so given by the Yagbonwura. Also, this is mostly done deliberately in order to get the Yagbonwura feel worthless, powerless, and of no value in the eye of the public. Ladies and gentlemen, if we were to look on and allow such characters to get away with their conduct, it goes to say that all of us gathered here are complicit and are liable to the consequences arising from any such insubordination from these politicians and some of the chiefs. So if you see us today, our gathering is to send a strong caution to these characters in political clothing to stay off chieftaincy issues and not to get closer at undermining the authority of the Yagbonwura. So what I say, politicians be nan saying, "Omama womuni atra womuni ntong." I said the omo person omo tre say omo no omo so esin ohene no. Enya dia wo mo mbebunu ne krabe pene. Also, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we wish to run through some of the specific instances of display of insubordination, of some of which were done covertly and others were demonstrated publicly without fear. Into Wabu Tremu, Adia John, John Jinapor no wa NDC no, we are Abu Jinapor. Obu Tremu Adia Abu Jinapor ne ye ya. Enyama wa ye nyama bako 7. Wa ye ya. Omususu se we gu ohene ne nimtia. 1. Osi immediately after the enskinment of Yagbonwura B. Kunoto Jewu Swale I, there were some concerns about gross misconduct of an officer at the Gonja Traditional Council / Savannah Regional House of Chiefs. After a careful review and consideration of these concerns by the councillors and elders at the Japa Palace, a recommendation for the transfer of the said officer was forwarded as a petition to the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Cultural Affairs for onward action. Subsequent to this, our incontrovertible sources revealed that an MP from Gonja land, who also doubles as a minister, who was consulted by the Minister of Chieftaincy about the petition. The said MP was said to have rubbished the Yagbonwura's petition and asked the Minister for Chieftaincy to treat it with contempt. Up until this minute, nothing has been heard from the ministry, and said officer is still at post and still engages in the worst form of disrespect to the authority of the king in different forms. Now, what Tremu say, yes, you see, on any, you didn't see so no. A MPP of official be egu on hini nimtia. Or ya diebia etia on hini no. Gross misconduct. Inti, on hini tro and krata petition, e de command House of Chiefs. E katro mo say, politician we dear what dia mini, Mr. Mean to mean intina ha nye juma. Mon transfer no, because say obumye nimtia na imbebunu no soritia na ebia na ochi na akwakoda na nsem because sebe imbebunu no mompene say wo politician obe disrespect omo hene inti mon transfer ni free ha na wase wokan ye no eho na wambo ni din say Abu Jinapor but ose MP a wo ye minister wo free Gonja land. Na the only MP a wo ye minister menim a wo free Gonja land Abu Jinapor. Inti ahwa na Abu Jinapor rabeshe petition say o masa ohene no memfi no emi amehene bo asem ni gu memfi no. Inti up till now sa NPP official no still or at post a bibia ni hwa ato no. 2. I say when Wasipe was invaded by security forces of the state last year, some youth were wrongly arrested, beaten and detained, and even tried. Daboya became a standstill, and the people were calling on the Yagbonwura to act as the father that he is. Faced with this issue, the Yagbonwura called these same politicians in government to assist him resolve the issue amicably. In fact, his calls were not even returned. Their response were belated. When Yagbonwura called Abu Jinapor, he neither answered his phone nor returned Yagbonwura's call. Someone from Daboya died as a result of heart attack in the process. Today, the same person who couldn't do anything to save his brothers in Wasipe when the state forces invaded Wasipe, the same person has the power to call for the release of persons who were arrested for misconducting themselves in Dagomba within few hours. Otremu se embre bi bae Ghana ha security forces ebora ekuro ba akoso a ono oye hene woso. Omo cheche nkrofo bobu mbebunu no esu frɛ ohene se aw nana yesrew giyan the state security omo de yeye ni ohene ne nso no de obetumi aya ne se politicians wo mu free na sase so obefrɛ omo no de ato omo nim se ede na ekoso yi yesi wo frɛ ye ya wo manfa Abu Jinapor mpo de wan peki no kompo wan peki call ne wonu so wan frɛ back wan peki call na frɛ back ema obi kra wuye onya heart attack ewuye wan ba meje ne nkrofo nanso yesi nansen ya emse embebunu bi a wo mu free ono Abu Jinapor no ne constituency ni kro so mbebunu bi ekokodi nyamransem bi a yechi omutu mu Abu Jinapor no nansen ya just within few hours wama ye release sankrofo no nti eno so ye second thing say we go ohene nanim ti ohene na frɛ no wan peke na me wi ameka asem bi wo ya santini na wo tie mi a tie mi ye me wi ameka asem bi 3 also in recent times specifically under the current Yagbonwura Jirabi Kunoto traditional gatherings have been painted and turned into political showmanship with attendant unnecessary drama that eventually marred the traditional beauty of those events. Mention can be made of the Yagbonwura's outdooring after his enskinment. Indeed, that event was turned into a political boxing ring and political party colors took over the event. The subsequent reportage in the media twisted the issues and politics took center stage over the traditional issues. Osenansenya yade Yagbonwura esisui ye program politics na NPP fu aba beje na we na we what as odwon kra on as yade a ye amamre na modemo politics aba be say no. 4. The final funeral rite of the late Busunu Woche was heavily marred by the deliberate act of these same politicians, to the extent that there were exchanges of blows when the tribute of the late Queen Mother for Busunu was being read. Tinansenya Obahima bi ewu ye wasase ne so. Omu ye yie kese. Politicians no ba be say ho. Na we de nkro fo aba to blows ni e kon to kwa inina 5th, on 27th of April 2024, the Yagbonwura had his 1-year anniversary in Damango. This event coincided with the Gonja Land Youth Association's 48th Congress and also the Guan Congress meeting in Damango. Damango. Prominent chiefs and politicians graced these important occasions. Chiefs and people from all Guan-speaking areas and many politicians from different backgrounds. The MP for Damango, Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapor, acting for and on behalf of government, disrupted the flow of the program. This angered the sons and daughters of Gonja land, who attempted revolting against this gross disrespect and disregard for the authority of Yagbonwura B. Kunoto. To Tremwa, Nansenya, April, 27th April, Ohene ni wodine 1 year, ayedine siso. Imbebunu nso di 48 years, Congress, and the year program. Abu Jinapor de ne hone ne politics ba be say program no. Ema mbebunu ne bufu yese nanka yenya omo nanka wo mo ntre Abu Jinapor nyansa. Obe say program no. Sid, also, upon his ascension to the throne, the king, Jirabi Kunuto Jewu Swale I, paid a courtesy call on President Akufo-Addo in Accra, a security aid to the Yagbonwura, in front of the king and at the instance of all the chiefs who escorted the king, was denied access to the presidency. The security man who was asked to deny him access mentioned to the king it was Honorable Abu Jinapor, MP for Damongo, who gave these orders. Why did Abu Jinapor deny the king his security aid? So Tremwa, Nanseng, no. The set point, let me take you again. Also, upon his ascension of the throne, King Jirabi Kunoto paid a courtesy call on President Akufo-Addo, a security aid to the Yagbonwura. Nanseng Yagbonwura, Eko President Akufo-Addo ho. Na okono meaning say untrusted President Akufo-Addo dia, but okono or the bodyguard edinechi woko. Into do ha wo be ra akọ President Akufo-Addo ho na yesi ye man bodyguard ndi nechi. Aden a yesi Abu Jinapor na wa masa order no say won hene no mamu ma won fa ne bodyguard mba. Mo no nko ambra. Ono nko anwremu mo fa ne bodyguard mba. Nti onu bisa Abu Jinapor say die ntia ena meko baby na meji di say me bodyguard bebo me ho ban a. Wo ma order say ma me bodyguard ne nye den omba. Nti o say hono ya katren say Abu Jinapor na say ma bodyguard mba. 7 points. I say about a week ago, some 3 persons were arrested in Damongo for destroying pillars used to demarcate lands. Just when the police was processing them for court, a call came from above requesting their release. The suspects, upon their release, chanted and praised Abu Jinapor for facilitating their release. They also denigrated the king by singing unpleasant chants. Where was the power of Abu Jinapor when a swift response was needed at Wasipe? Inteno so asemo mo kanono. Nanseng mbebunu bia wo Abu Jinapor ne constituency ekodi nyamransem a ye chiomo. Emso hene ne ma ye chiomo tumu. Na ehona na Abu Jinapor make call. O make call ehona ene releasing crofo no. Ye release yo mo no di onim o say order from above say releasing crofo no. Ye beti ane say enkola no to nwom bo Abu Jinapor o say ye wa ya de eno hene no ye to nwom di natem. So hene ne de ono de oyenipa bonini. Nti obisa. O say, ladies and gentlemen, there are several examples of this insubordination, disrespect to the Yagbonwura, and disregard to the traditions and customs of the people of Gonja land, which we can cite. It goes without saying that politicians such as Abu Jinapor have thrown their traditions through the window while worshipping their political powers. We would like to state that the MP for Damongo, Honorable Abu Jinapor, is first a Gonja before he got his political identity, and for that matter, political power. Any attempt to exchange the real traditional identity with political identity in an attempt to denigrate, disrespect, and undermine the Yagbonwura as the symbol of authority of the Gonja kingdom will not be tolerated. We wish to emphasize that no politician or political power is above the Yagbonwura in Gonja land. We wish to further caution that any attempt to subvert the authority of the king will equally be met with the full force of the youth. Enough of the insubordination, enough of the disrespect, enough of the arm twisting and arrogance. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we wish to echo the voice of the Yagbonwura as was said at the Jakpa Palace, and on the basis of the above listed instances of disrespect and insubordination, championed and led by Honorable Abu Jinapor, that the king would never grant audience to any government delegation, political party, or any person who pays him a visit once it includes Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapor, until he learns his tradition as a royal and learn how to respect the authority of the Yagbonwura. And this statement is final and binding on all paramouncies within the Gonja kingdom. Thank you. Now we know the reasons why you say Abu Jinapor yabane no. The Yagbonwura abane no. Now, as someone me can say, oh yeah, Asantini na wa ha. Me pese wutie me no any. You see, in as much as a young uncle be na bo Asantifo echi, and the Asantifo de omo pese omo trese, omo pe no mo yewe, and the omo pese omo trese, omo pe no mo to me. In as much as Nkrofo ebo Asantifo echi no. The truth of the matter is that there is no Ashanti minister or there is no Ashanti MP who will do all these things. Allegedly, eye Yagbonwura no. Sa nsema Yagbonwura walking. Say enya no kware dia enya no kware. But Asantini MP minister bi eni ho. Yesi otumfo. Na Asantini MP ana minister NPP ni. No wo ye otumfo sa nyama we. No one. Even ono Abu Jinapor yi ono kron to me fasa ade na nye otumfo. Otumfo onya ne hini o. Ono Abu Jinapor kron to me fa nye no. But ono ankasa ne hini allegedly won the other no. Inti no no. E kan Nkrofo bebo Asantifo echi ba at the end of the day ade na ye senia wo no wo hene wo treat ni yi a e na be ma obontinso ni so ehun se me nso me treat ni yi ende Nkrofo a wo mo nya Asantifo kra hu otumfo a omo bu kotoje die ntia because Asantifo ye ma ne ye fe. Untre mo ajo comment box ni mu me da se